We got our first. How do you go about mitigating financial upheaval? Okay, we got all four tires that have gone flat, maybe. The refrigerator went up. These are big ticket items, you know. Maybe there was a layoff. God forbid there was a layoff in the family. One of the breadwinners got laid off. There's been a lot of that going around. How do you develop a situation to mitigate these unforeseen circumstances so that your financial life, your life in general, can experience the least amount of disruption? Well, you need an emergency fund. I don't care how much you've got in your IRA, 401k, separate brokerage account, or how much rental real estate you might have, you need an emergency fund. And here's why. Because if you don't have an emergency fund, and things start to go awry, go south with regard to expenses that you're racking up. Let's go with the layoff scenario. So, okay, one of the breadwinners have been laid off and their income is not coming into the house anymore. Well, if you've got 6 months of expenses saved in an emergency fund, then the rent or mortgage is still getting paid. The car payments are still getting paid. Food is still coming into that house. That is why we need an emergency fund. And we also need it because we don't want to have to look at other accounts that are out there working hard for us. We don't want to have to take principal from those accounts, especially in the case of a qualified account like a 401k or an IRA. And the reason we definitely don't want to take any money from those accounts is because you're going to get taxed at your normal rate on that. And you're going to get hit with a 10% penalty also if you withdraw that money outside of a hardship. And hardships are that's a very narrow definition. But if you withdraw that money outside of a hardship and those qualified accounts, 401k, IRA, you're going to also get hit with a 10% penalty. So let's go with the situation where all four tires, you need to replace them. That's $1,000 easy. You withdraw $1,000 from your IRA or 401k prior to the age of 59 and a half, well, you're going to be hit with a 10% penalty right off the bat. And then you're going to be taxed on the whole thousand. So the emergency fund will insulate you from having to worry about that sort of thing. Now, the question becomes, well, where do you put the emergency fund? You do want it to work for you. I mean, everything this whole platform is about, money changes everything, is getting your money to work as hard for you as possible. Now, according to the FDIC, the current savings interest rate, the average savings interest rate in the United States today is 0.05%. That is not much at all. I think by the age of 500, you should have made maybe $1,000 off of that, depending on how much you've got in the bank. So how do you do better than that? Well, here's how. You can take a look at online savings accounts. These are run by banking institutions that do not have the overhead of the brick and mortar location. So you're going to sacrifice being able to go into that local branch whenever you want. You're going to sacrifice that for a higher interest rate. And let's be honest, how often do you really need to go into the branch? And I'm also going to talk to you about how the inability to go into a branch or go hit an ATM up real quick, how that's actually a benefit. But what we're seeing from these online banking institutions is 12 times better interest rates on savings. You've got several names that you may have heard, several that you may not have heard of. You've got to do your due diligence. We've got Citibank on the list, VO Bank, Popular Direct, Marcus by Goldman Sachs. You got to do your due diligence, figure out what's right for you. But as you can see from this list, we do a lot better than 0.05%. Okay, so the key is to keep that money working for you as hard as you can. And these online banks offer that ability to have your money work harder than it ever would at the current savings rate in the brick and mortar location. Now, There is always a caveat. There's always a trade-off. Like I talked about, you can't go into the branch or hit up an ATM and just, take some money out in most situations with these online banks. That's not necessarily a bad thing because it saves you from the impulse buy. How these banks work is as follows. You have to have another banking account set up in order to make transfers into the online banking account and out of the online banking account. Those transactions typically take about 48 hours. So that's going to save you from using the money in that account for impulse purchases. You're going to come up with a different idea, or you're going to figure out, you know what, I don't need that item anyway. And I'm not willing to dip into my savings in order to get it. And there's no ATM, there's no card associated with it, and there's no branch that I can walk into and make a withdrawal. These withdrawals from the account take about 48 hours to land in your connected account. Okay, that's a great thing. So I want you to I want you to do your own research, look into these and maybe other online banking institutions. You're going to find that the interest rates are high. And what do you need from a savings account other than a good, relatively speaking, interest rate? They used to give out toasters. You don't need a toaster. You just need a decent interest rate. You need your money to work hard for you. Subscribe to this channel. Do me a favor. Share this video. It is essential that you share this video because we need more people to understand how to get more out of their savings. Okay? This has been Tyrone Keys. Remember, you can unlock prosperity with me, Keys.